What's up, Slick Dealers? Summer's in full swing, and if you're like most Americans, you're probably gonna find yourself outside in the heat with a canned drink. Whether it's tailgating for your favorite sports team with absolutely no one else, or chilling in a float on the water. And in most cases, you'd probably want that drink to stay cold, so you've got a lot of options for that. You could use an insulated bottle like these that we previously tested, and you're probably gonna wanna have yourself a nice cooler around like an Everbuilt or a Yeti, which you can check out here. But there's an even more specific product that could knock your socks off: a koozie. No, not one of these normal neoprene or foam koozies, but something more serious. Today we're testing out 5 insulated can coolers from the top Thermos brands to see which one keeps drinks the coolest. Before we get started, subscribe for more product comparisons and tests, and like this video if you enjoy a delicious, hot Dr. Pepper. Here are the contenders. First, our Control neoprene koozie, RTIC, Yeti, Ozark Trail, Flask, and last but not least, Thermos. You can find the links to all of them in the description. Also, if you happen to make a purchase, we may receive a small commission from that purchase. We performed 3 tests: indoors, outdoors, and inside a car. The temperature inside the office is 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Outside it's about 85 degrees. I know, not too hot, but we set the cans on the pavement, which is a crispy 145. And then finally, our third test was from the inside of my car, which ranged in temperature from 115 to 130 degrees. This isn't a super scientific test, but we felt like these 3 conditions would cover most of the bases for the average person's use. But I mean, let's be real, who's gonna be working on one soda for 2 hours? So let's see what happens. First, the indoor test. We actually did the indoor test for 3 hours to make sure that we would catch the most dramatic temperature changes, and adjusted down to 2 hours for the next 2 tests once we realized that between hour 2 and 3, the temperatures somewhat leveled off. For the indoor test, we immediately noticed interesting results. First, the neoprene koozie does very little to actually keep your drink cool. Over the course of 2 hours, the Control had a net gain of 23 degrees while the koozie went up 20 degrees. So it only saved the can an additional 3 degrees of coolness. All of the metal insulated coolers were comparably neck and neck, though the RTIC and Ozark Trail definitely pulled ahead of the rest of the pack, essentially tying at 6.5 and 6.7 degrees increase respectively. Another important note for our test: we felt like a standard deviation of half a degree was fair to account for our inconsistency, so the results that were within half a degree of each other we considered a tie. So these were a tie. You want to see the outside results though. That's the main event. Next up, we're going to be testing out the insulated can coolers in the blazing Hollywood heat. In this Yeti cooler, hashtag not sponsored, we've got the delicious Dr. Peppers, hashtag not sponsored, and we're going to set them outside and see how they do. The results for the outdoor test were a lot more conclusive in my opinion. Again, the koozie did almost nothing to protect the drink temperature. I mean, a thicker foam koozie might do a little bit better, but a thin one like this is basically just personal flair for your drink, and then, you know, maybe keeping the sweat off of your hands. It's not going to keep it cool. Now you know, so you're only fooling yourself. Over 2 hours, the RTIC pulled ahead as the clear winner, keeping the Dr. Pepper a full 3 degrees cooler than the next closest competitor. The performance at 1 hour on this test was also comparable, with no real change in the competition. The only other interesting note here is that the Hydro Flask, one of the most expensive options, performed the worst by a pretty staggering amount. That said, the Hydro Flask does have the added parlor trick of doubling as a standalone cup, so you can pour drinks directly into it and use it like this as well, for what it's worth. Moving on to the car test. For a last test, we have all of the cans inside the back of my car. It's about 130 degrees inside there, which is warmer, but it is also a more consistent temperature. So we're gonna test them out over the next 2 hours and see how they do. So in the sun, it's around 140, and in the shade, it's like around 120. So it's about 130-ish overall. I'm gonna hop in and test these out. I feel like the most interesting results came out of the car test. First, this was a more stable, warm environment. There wasn't ground heat cooking the cans, it was more evenly distributed heat, and once again, the winner was the RTIC. With a caveat. Over the first hour, it was actually losing to the Yeti, which had a 0.1 degree advantage over it. Between the hour and 2 hour window though, the RTIC pulled ahead, keeping its Dr. Pepper a full 1.4 degrees cooler. So, which one? Over the 3 tests, it's pretty clear this RTIC is the best performing. We found this to be especially surprising considering the model that we selected is black, and you know, black things absorb more heat, so you'd expect it to be at a disadvantage. I'd be interested to see how a different color RTIC performed. My next recommendation would probably be the Ozark Trail for a combination of performance and the fact that it was by far the cheapest insulated can cooler. Half the price of the RTIC and a quarter of the price of the Yeti and the Hydro Flask. The Hydro Flask and the Thermos brands performed okay, and they have unique features. I mentioned the Hydro Flask duality, but I actually just realized that the Thermos can probably act as a cup as well. One final little note, what's the best temperature to drink your soda? Pepsi says 42 degrees, while Coke says 38 degrees, and Dr. Pepper, well, 180 degrees. So even if you find yourself without a can insulator this summer, if you're a Dr. Pepper drinker, that might not really matter. All the products we tested are linked in the description, and again, please subscribe for more product review content. I'm Pete King, see you next time.
A fun time, the perfect time for hot Dr. Pepper. And it's so easy to prepare. Just heat Dr. Pepper or Diet Dr. Pepper till it steams. Then pour over a thin slice of lemon and serve piping hot. Guests swing right into the holiday mood with distinctively different hot Dr. Pepper.